His fire went out and there was not enough steam. It was nearly time for the express. People were waiting, but the coaches weren't ready. But the driver and fireman felt sorry for Edward. Would you like to come out today? So they lit his fire, made lots, and the driver was very pleased. I'll get out my paint tomorrow and give you a beautiful coat of. Then along came Sir Topham Hatt, the man in charge of all the engines on Sodor. They call him the Fat Controller. My doctor has forbidden me to pull. Then they tried pushing from the other end. The Fat Controller said, 1, 2, 3, push! But he didn't help. My doctor has forbidden me to push, he said. They pushed and pushed and pushed, but still Henry and leave you here for always and always and always often pass by. Like the Fat Controller, and Gordon was seeing how fast had Gordon. He was almost there when... "The turntable," said the Fat Controller. He leaned out of the window to wave at Edward and Henry. Then his hat blew off into a field where a goat ate it for tea. The people got in. The guard and station master walked up and down. The porter banged the doors, and still Henry didn't. The Fat Controller came to see what was the matter. And "Find another engine," he ordered. "There's only Thomas," they said. "You'll have to do it then, Thomas. Be quick now." Perhaps the driver pulled the lever by mistake. It's nice of them to wave, and he whistled. "Peep, peep, thank you." "What are you doing here?" "Where are your coaches then?" The guard blew his whistle. "Steady now, steady," warned the driver as they reached the top. "Remember, don't be impatient, Thomas. You can never be as strong and fast as Gordon, but you can be a... The cranes are for lifting heavy things like engines and coaches and trucks." Soon came the alarm. "James is off the line. The breakdown train, quickly!" "Well, Thomas," he said, "I've heard all about it, and I'm very pleased with you. You're a special mixed traffic engine," said the Fat Controller. A shower of water fell on the Fat Controller's nice new top hat. Just then the guard blew his whistle. "The brakes are hard on. Leak in the pipe, most likely." "How shall we mend it?" said the guard. "We'll do it with newspaper and a leather bootlace," replied the driver. "Well, where is the bootlace coming from?" asked the guard. "Ask the passengers," said the driver. "You have a leather bootlace there, I see, sir," said the guard to a smartly dressed man. "Please give it to me." "I won't," said the man. "Then," said the guard, "I'm afraid the train will just stop where it is." The passengers all said what a bad railway it was. Then they told the man how bad he was instead. Everyone was very cross. At last he handed his laces over. The driver tied a pad of newspaper tightly round the hole in the brake pipe, and "That's a good engine," said the Fat Controller. "I want you to pull some trucks for me, put right." And each time James would start. "Look out for trouble, James," warned his driver. "We'll go fast and get them up before they know it. Don't let them easy now." But his driver shut off steam. "They've done it again. We've left our But the Fat Controller was smiling. I was in Edward's train, and meanwhile all the passengers hurried to the booking office. "We want our money back," they shouted. But the Fat Controller climbed on a trolley and blew the guard's whistle so loudly that they all stopped to look at him. Then he promised them a new train at once. "Do your best, James," said the Fat Controller. Passengers cheered, and they soon reached Ed. "Would you like to pull the express sometimes?" On his way steaming out of the station. "I don't know," said his driver. "The guard will tell us in a minute." Everyone looked. And there was the guard running as fast as he could along the line, with his flags in one hand and his whistle. in the other. He was very hot, so he had a drink, then told them all about it. The sight of the river. As he would stay and watch, but his driver said no. What would the Fat Controller say if we were late? Never mind, said his driver, we'll get some more times over. They finished at last. Began to hiss from his safety valve in an alarming way. There's too much steam. Then while the guard telephoned for an engine inspector, the driver found notices in large letters, which he hung on Thomas in front and behind. Danger! Keep away! Arrived. Cheer up, Thomas, they said. We'll soon put you right. The driver told them what had happened. So the feed pipe is blocked, said the inspector. I'll just look in the tanks. He did. Then he came down. Excuse me, sir. Please look in the tank and tell me what you see. Certainly, Inspector, replied the Fat Controller. He clapped off in surprise. Inspector, he whispered, can you see fish? Gracious goodness me, how did the fish get there, driver? We must have fished them from the river with our bucket, replied Thomas's driver. Back, Thomas, back, said, what a silly engine I am. And Thomas, the engines were causing the Fat Controller a great deal of trouble. The fireman tried to turn the handle, but Gordon's weight and the strong wind prevented him. The Fat Controller sat in his office listening to the noise outside. The passengers were angry. The station master came in. There's trouble in the shed, sir. Henry is sulking, there's no train, and the passengers are saying this is a bad railway. Indeed, said the Fat Controller, we cannot allow that. Come along, Henry, it's time your train was ready. Oh, indeed, said the Fat Controller, we'll see about that. Engines on my railway do as they are told. And he hurried away to find Edward. The yard has never been the same since Thomas left to run his branch line, he thought sadly. Bless me, said the Fat Controller, what a noise. No, Edward, you have nice blue ones and I'm proud of you. Tender engines do show to a workshop and they showed him all sorts of engines. That's the one, he thought. If I choose you, will you work? Well done, Thomas. You've been quick, so I have shut them up and I want you both to run the line for a while. And Percy will help too. That's right, but please remember that this no shunting nonsense must stop. But they've done you no good. If we can't make you better, we must get another... Henry managed to start, but his fireman was not satisfied. Henry is a bad steamer, he said to the Fat Controller. I build up his fire, but it doesn't give him... Excuse me, sir, he answered, but the fact is the coal is wrong. We've had a poor lot lately, and today it's worse. The other engines can manage, they have big... It's expensive, said the Fat Controller, but Henry must have a fair chance. Him shall go and fetch some. They carefully made his fire, putting large lumps of coal like a wall round the outside. Then the glowing middle part was covered with smaller lumps. Wait and see, said the fireman. We'll have a roaring fire, just when we want it. How are you, Henry? Have you a good fire, driver? Never better, sir, and plenty of steam. Steady, old fellow, he would say. There's plenty of time. All kinds of ships use the harbour at the big station by the sea. There are passenger ships, cargo ships, and fishing boats also come here. They unload their fish on the quay. Some of it goes to shops in the town, and the rest in a special train to other places far away. This is the train the railwaymen call the Flying Kipper. Door bang, the guard showed his green lamp. All clear, Henry. Away we go. They couldn't know the point. The kipper is due, said the guard. Who cares, said the fireman. This is good cocoa. The driver got up. Come on, fireman, back to our engine. They got out just in time. Cheer up, Henry, it wasn't your fault. Ice and snow caused the accident. I'm sending you to Crooks. You'll feel a different engine and won't need special coal anymore. Sorry to say that a lot of little children are often... Take him away, he bellowed, and stop that noise! Instead, they've broken our glass. They've broken our glass, sobbed the coaches. The passengers weren't hurt, but they were cross. Well then, said the driver, Henry is going to sneeze at those boys. Henry has plenty of ashes, said the driver. Please keep all windows shut till we have passed the bridge. Aren't you, old fellow? Are you ready, Henry, said his driver. Sneeze hard when I tell you. Come on, grandfather, cried the children. Do look at this end. That's a tram engine, Stephen, said the fat controller. Is it electric? Asked Bridget. Shh, shh, said her brother. You've offended him. But trams are electric, aren't they? They are mostly, but this is a steam tram. May we go in it, grandfather? Please? Stop, said the fat controller to the guard. They all scrambled into Henrietta. Disgraceful, he spluttered. I didn't sleep a wink last night. It was so quiet. And the policeman pointed to Thomas. Where's your cowcatcher here? Don't be funny, snapped the policeman. Thomas's wheels. No side plates either. And he wrote in his notebook. Engine, you haven't, so you are dangerous. Rubbish, said Thomas's driver. We've been along here hundreds of times and never had an accident. That makes it worse, the policeman answered. He wrote regular lawbreaker in his book. The fat controller was having breakfast. He was eating toast and marmalade. The butler came in. Excuse me, sir, you are wanted on the telephone. Bother that telephone, said the fat controller. I'm sorry, my dear, he said to his wife. Thomas is in trouble with the police, and I must go at once. Dangerous to the public, indeed. We'll see about that. The law is the law, he said, and we can't change it. The fat controller felt exhausted. I'm sorry, driver, he said. It's no use arguing with policemen. We will have to make those cowcatcher things for Thomas, I suppose. Engine, said the fat controller. I see you've brought your coach, Henrietta. No, indeed, said the fat controller. We couldn't allow that. Oi, you! Fancy letting your trucks run away. I am surprised. Oh, leave him where he is. We haven't time to bother with him now. And a very naughty one, too. I'm not sure. We can't lift you out with a crane. The ground's not firm enough. Let me see. I wonder if Gordon could pull you out between the two engines. Are you ready? Heave! By the side of the track was a lonely little cottage with a familiar figure waving to them. It's Mrs. Kindly's the accident. You remember when she was ill in bed and... Yes, of course, interrupted Edward. You told us how she waved her red dressing gown out of her window to warn you about a landslide. The weather's changed badly. Mrs. Kindly is snowed up. Toby says he'll help to rescue her. Look at that, exclaimed Thomas's fireman. Peep, peep, peep. Here we are, whistled Thomas. An answering wave came from an upstairs window.